Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from the Unscrewed Mind. Coming up on episode 9, we are discussing New Year's resolutions. We talk about some common resolutions, tips for success, and share some of our personal experiences. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Today's topic, we're going to be talking about setting your New Year's resolutions, right?
Yep.
And, the relationship that I feel like that I have with resolutions and today versus what I did 2 years ago.
Right.
Because 2 years ago, I think I was to the point where New Year's resolutions didn't exist to me, or maybe I would just, put down one thing, or basically I had stepped away from the hype of a New Year's resolution, because I do think it is something that's a little bit hyped up in our society, and it's a talking point for so many different stations and things. And we're talking about it on the podcast right now. So it's a talking point.
It's definitely a mainstream topic of conversation this time of year. And so, I think it's a timely podcast episode to do. And I think we can help shed a lot of light on maybe why New Year's resolutions don't work, why setting goals more often is better for you. And then, maybe even how to set a goal and stick to it and see some results from it. And, maybe a little bit more than you have in the past.
Yeah. And, to me, when I think of New Year's resolution, I think of certain resolutions that people make every year. I mean, you've got people with the stopping drinking, cutting back on food, losing weight, not cursing. I know people that have done that, stopping smoking. And to me, why all those things are positive, they also have a lot of willpower involved in them.
Sure.
So you're attacking something that is going to be attacking you back. Every day that you go without one of those things, you're going to see as an achievement, but you're also going to look at how frustrating maybe that day was, or you might start feeling better in the beginning and then you start feeling worse about it. So really is what I meant about last year. I didn't look at New Year's resolutions is because I was already in a goal-oriented mindset. Okay. So I was writing down my goals and reading them daily. And this is something that I don't think people do with New Year's resolutions, or if they do, I completely tuned out that. Okay. So if some people are reading New Year's resolutions on a daily basis, great. I'm glad you're already doing it. It's something that I think will really help, because you're going to be programming your subconscious mind to help you get out of the state of the things that you're wanting to change.
Absolutely. And as someone who has done resolutions for as long as I can remember, I've 25 years experience with a New Year's resolution. Never once have I taken my resolution and put it down on paper and considered it ever again. It was just something, it was a figment of my imagination. I was like, it'd be great if I could add this to my life or subtract this from my life, but it wasn't anything that I really took the next step or did anything physically with that goal or with that resolution from that point on.
Yeah. And why not make the resolution life-changing? These different things that we just named, although they're going to be an improvement, they're not a total life-changing, I'm going to open my own company. I'm going to make $1 million this year. I'm going to, start a new hobby that's completely different to me. I don't even know what it is, but I'm writing down that goal.
Right.
We limit ourselves and we put ourselves in a tight box of what a New Year's resolution can be. And it's the same resolutions every year. And you'll hear study after study about how they fail. and they talk about on the news and different media platforms, why those failed. That they first off, or they'll start off with that's why they failed. Or
Can we
why
talk
they're
about
going to fail.
so do New Year's resolutions fail because the person gives up, or do they fail because there's this media onslaught and this downpour of everyone around them in their circle saying, "Oh, I gave up on that in the first 2 weeks." Or you see a news article that says, "Here's why people give up on their New Year's resolution in the first 2 weeks." So is it a failure, or is it for some reason they're attracting stories of failure to them, and it ends up resulting in their failure?
Well, I think it really goes back to the person's paradigm, because you are programmed already. Your paradigm already is what they're going to say. So you already have the feeling that you're not going to see this through before you even write them down. And that's what you've done for so many years. And I know people that are successful at this at the same time. I know one of my friends, they write down, with the whole family, they write down things that they want to manifest for 2020, for 2021. That's what they sit down and do. And so that's a little bit different take on it, because when you say that you want to manifest this, you're taking away some pressure off of you from a willpower perspective, because you're letting the universe take control versus you saying, I'm not going to do this. And you saying that I'm not going to do this is giving massive amounts of pressure to you, which is only going to be overcome by your personal willpower, and you're not actually changing the paradigm.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you, or do you know what I'm talking about when I say that, Matt?
I got to be honest, and I'll cut this part out.
Yeah.
I got an email that came across, and I totally lost my train of thought. And so,
was that on your personal?
No. Well, it came across the screen on the Mac, and so.
Do you think we could close it?
It was just the notification, and then in my mind I was like, I need to turn off notifications, and then I was like, how do I do that? And then the next thing I know, you say, "Hey, Matt, does that resonate with you?" And I'm like, oh no.
So I'm just saying that the paradigm is in full control. So changing the paradigm is what you need to do, and not so much focus on that goal. So shifting your thoughts, because if you start looking at your thoughts, it's more important than setting those New Year's resolutions, because you're going to see, once you start realizing your thoughts, you're going to see where you fail, because you start chaining off of that thought, or you start, and so I think that that's a huge change that can be made. And meditation and thought awareness that can be a New Year's resolution. That's a great one. Yeah. But are you reading that goal every day? Are you becoming that, or are you just doing it because you think that it's the thing to do?
Okay.
And so you have to really ask, want, and be in the receiving mode of. And you can't just say, this is what I'm going to do. And Matt, can you tell us about a goal that you've struggled with, or a goal or a New Year's resolution that you've struggled with, or that you've had repeating years, or even one that you have achieved? And can you see the difference between the one that you achieved versus the one that you haven't?
I'll tell you this. And I thought about this when I was preparing for this podcast. For probably the past 6 or 7 years, I've had the same New Year's resolutions. And really, there's just two of them. One was to drink less, and the other one was to use nicotine Not at all, right? So quit drinking, quit smoking, and failed miserably year after year after year with both of those. And I think it's because one, I was not doing it for me. I was probably doing it for someone else, and that's a recipe for failure. And then two, and at those times, I, from a paradigm perspective, subconsciously was a smoker or a drinker. And so I wasn't fixing the root of the problems. And so if you fast forward to 2020, in March, once we started writing down our goals and changing paradigms and looking at this from a subconscious level, I went to work eliminating those habits by changing who I thought I was on the inside subconsciously. And so you do that through repetition, through writing down ideas and statements that affirm the person that you want to be, not the person that you are right now. And so, I read every day for months. I'm so happy and grateful that I no longer use cigarettes or nicotine. And I also wrote down, I'm so happy and grateful that I make decisions that are good for my health and well-being. And after reading those repeatedly and conditioning myself to think that I only make decisions that are good for me, that improve my health and well-being, those things that no longer did that just kind of slid by the wayside. And there are other things that I did too, and other tips that are going to make a goal or a New Year's resolution stick. Obviously, I have people around me that I could trust to help me kick that habit as well. And so putting yourself out there like, hey, I no longer do this or I no longer do that, and making that part of your environment is super important. And then making sure that you take time to celebrate kind of the little steps that you make towards the big goal. If it's you go a week or you go a month or you go 2 months, 3 months, you need to kind of celebrate those as little victories. And then, we were talking about this earlier. Once those goals are achieved, don't sit back and just relax and think that your mission has been accomplished. It's time to set more goals, take it even further, and see how far that you can go. And I think that's kind of a long answer to your question, but I believe that I got there in the end.
Well, and a great thought popped into my mind when you were explaining that is the New Year's resolution is not the problem. Your resolution is not to get rid of the problem. Your New Year's resolution is normally to change a habit that is related to the problem.
To change a symptom. Yeah. Right.
And so, you're talking about stopping drinking, stopping smoking. That is, you smoke and you drink because normally you're trying to get away from how you normally feel. Mm-hmm. Once you change how you normally feel, you will see that those things don't serve you. And so you want to move away from them, like you were saying.
Yep.
And so I think I really think that that's the core of why resolutions aren't as effective as they could be, because you're not really looking to change you. You're just looking to change one thing that really isn't the problem.
Right.
And that does, you do bring up a really good story about one of my friends that his goal was to purchase a new house. It's the first house that he's ever had that he's actually purchasing. And it was to get a new pickup truck. And he moved into his new house this week, and he got a brand new pickup truck this week. And in order for him to get those things, he got a promotion at his job. And it's so exciting to me. That's why I bring it up, because it was somebody that I really started talking to this about in probably March, April timeframe. And that was the goals that they wrote down, and they're already here. They're already achieved. And the first thing that I said to him is move the goal. Mm-hmm. And you brought that up earlier, but
yeah,
you don't have to wait for a specific date to have a change in your life?
We were talking about that. I think it was earlier this week when the topic of New Year's resolutions came up. I was like, man, on Monday, I'm going to stop doing this.
Yeah.
And then for like, if you decided to do that on the Tuesday before, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're just crushing whatever habit to get as much of it into your system as you possibly can. And then, until midnight, right? Until 12 p.m. or 11:59 p.m. the night before, so that, you can really, really get as much in as you can before that habit has to stop. And it's so silly, to think that way. And I've done that 1,000 times, 100,000 times in my life.
It's like you go in to, normally you go in and buy a pack of cigarettes, but instead you're like, go ahead and give me a carton because I'm stopping on the first.
Yeah. I'm quitting tomorrow. Go ahead and load up the cart with cigarettes because this will be the last time I ever smoke.
Yeah. And then some people will say, well, it's going to be the second when I start. So the first is the recovery day of, and so I've done it myself for sure. There's been so many things. And then if you are a avid gym goer, I'm sure that you have been in the gym, the entire year waiting, anticipating that January where every machine in the building is full, and then February rolls around February 15th, and you have free reign again to get on any machine that you want. And the people that run gyms are in full understanding. I mean, you're going to see the best promotions, pricing on gyms on January 1. Sign up for free because you're going to be paying us until next year, and you don't even know it.
Yeah. I looked up the top resolutions just because in case it came up, I would be able to talk to them. Of course, exercise more, lose weight is number one at 26%. It talks about how 55% of people don't make it an entire month, which to your February 15th point is very much right on the money. It does set, if anyone's listening to this and they're going to do a New Year's resolution the old way, I did find some tips on how to stick with it and some things to remember. And I just want to go through these, Russ, and you can tell me what you think. Step one, right? Set an attainable goal. And so if, let's say so put a limit on it, right? Yeah. Put a limit on it immediately. But I want to lose 100 pounds in the year 2021. Why not start with 20? Does that make sense? Does 20 is attainable? When you get it, you can instantly move the goal, understand that you want to move it further. But setting a goal that's a little bit smaller and hitting that goal is going to give you the confidence to go even further.
Yeah, I think that, that's a great way to do things. And an example of that for me is, if you're feeling like that you're not manifesting your goals or your resolution, then you're going to be more likely to give up on it. And something that helped me out not too long ago, and I think I told you about this, Matt, but not 100% positive. I think it was listening to a Esther Hicks Abram, and she was talking about if you want the universe to show you that you're manifesting or in control, and things that you're wanting are coming to you, and you want it, and those things want you as well, is to manifest seeing a certain color car. And so I was like, okay, I want to see a highlighter colored car. Didn't say a specific kind, but I wanted it to be the 80s highlighter color, not the neon highlighter of today.
Okay.
That like dirty yellow look.
Yeah.
And so
like McDonald's yellow as opposed to like infrared yellow. Yeah.
Yes. And I kid you not, the next day I'm actually on the phone with Lindsay, and she calls me and she's like, "Hey, I was listening to this thing, and it was talking about manifesting a certain car in a certain color, and I wanted to see a purple car, and I just saw the purple car." When I'm on the phone with her, on the right side of the road, there is no joke, a Porsche SUV in the ugliest, brightest yellow I've ever seen in my life. I was like, wow. I was like, I listened to that as well, and I'm seeing my car as you're calling me. The reason why I bring that up is yeah, you can see that if you set a small goal or what you perceive to be a small goal, that your gestation period for something that you feel like is small is going to be much faster than something that you don't perceive as small. So I think you're 100% right on the weight goal. You know, set it easy. Maybe you just stop drinking during the week and only start drinking, drink on the weekends to begin with. And that way you're baby stepping into it, but you're able to say, hey, I did accomplish this versus I failed. So let me hit the liquor store.
Now I'm going to drink forever. Yeah. So here, another, that brings up kind of tip number 2, slip ups, backslides. They're okay. Just because you may go 2 weeks and your resolution is kicking on all cylinders, and then one day maybe you don't have as much willpower, maybe something happens and it triggers an old response as part of your paradigm. Going backwards, taking a step backwards is okay. Don't forget that you've taken 14 steps forward over the course of the 2 weeks prior, and the next day you just get back on the horse, if that makes sense, because you've already made progress towards your goal. You've taken 1 step backwards. Now let's take 2 more steps forwards, and let's get back towards the goal that we want. Right. So if the goal is to lose weight and you gain a pound one day, I mean, that's natural. If you read anything about it, it happens. So it's no reason to quit. If you miss a day at the gym, it's no reason to stop going. Just go that next time and act like it absolutely never happened.
Yeah, I think that's great.
We'll go through these last couple because they're pretty quick. And if you have something to say, you can say something. Reward yourself immediately, right? Don't set a goal and wait to celebrate it when you get to the finish line, which could be a year away. I saw a video or read something where then you've put in all this work. You work for 12 months and then you celebrate for a very short period of time. And you've missed out on an opportunity to celebrate all along the way your little accomplishments. And so same with setting an attainable goal, celebrate little milestones along the way. Change your surroundings would be another recommendation. Make sure you're eliminating things that are in your environment that are going to make it hard for you to stick to your resolution, whether it's losing weight, whether it's saving money, whether it's getting a new job. There are things in your environment that are going to hold you to your existing paradigm. Make sure that you're eliminating those so it's easier for you to stay on the path that you want. And then use the buddy system, not only for a support system, but also for kind of an accountability check. If I want to accomplish something, I'm going to tell Rusty, hey, dude, I'm giving this a shot. And he is going to ask me how it's going. He's going to ask me what I'm doing
and then
how I'm doing so far.
Matt may avoid talking to me for what seems like days at a time.
I'm like, oh, I didn't get that text message. I was busy drinking and smoking. I couldn't see
it. But I think that the things that you're reading align so well with just manifesting in general, because you have to understand that if you got all of your manifestations today, yes, you could move the goal, but you would be bored. And you have to enjoy the journey, because if you're losing weight people are going, you're feeling better about yourself, and people are going to notice it, and they're going to make a comment to you from a positive perspective.
Oof.
And so you're getting
Yeah.
that dopamine hit from that.
Mhm.
And so just think, if you lost the 100 pounds in one day, I mean, everybody would talk about it. I mean, it would be insane. But at the same time, you wouldn't have got to talk about, that awesome workout that you did, or, just all the things that go with it. And the same thing with quitting smoking. You wouldn't be able to talk about the milestones that you were able to accomplish, or drinking.
Mhm.
And so just enjoy the journey, because anything that you set as a goal or a resolution should never, ever be a punishment to you.
And it should be something that you want to do, not something society or your like Facebook group of friends or anything. It should come from your desire internally, not from an external force that's making you do it, because that's going to help you move towards success as well.
Yeah, it's definitely got to be that internal force that you're working with and achieving with, not, looking on the outside for the answer. It's everything is inside of you. It's just whether you're willing to listen or to move towards that.
So a couple things that I want to talk about too, because I did some extra reading. I think these are kind of important tips. We talk about writing goals out all the time and reading them. I want to think about how you take that a step further. Let's say you have a goal, and it is to, we've been talking about losing weight the whole time. Let's say we have a goal and it is to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to understand the why behind it. And so I read Abrams' Asking It Is Given, and she talks about a really neat exercise, which is the creative workshop. And it's where if you want, you can read a book and you can kind of get into it. But it's where you take something that you want and you break it down, right? And so she gives the example of, writing something down about like what you want for your body. And you can say, I want to lose weight. And you ask yourself, why do I want to lose weight? And you should, underneath that goal, I want to lose 50 pounds by such and such a date, write out why you want to. I want to lose weight because it'll make me feel better. I want to lose weight because I'll be able to do activities with my friends and family. I want to lose weight because it will give me the confidence to meet new people. Whatever it is, make sure that you have a breakdown for those whys so that you understand a little bit more in depth why you're going through this and why you're doing it to yourself. And so going down that list, I think, is important because you're breaking out the reasons why you're going after it.
When you say that, it makes me immediately think of Neville Goddard, and what you just described was living in the feeling of the end, because you're listing what that feeling would be or what that change would give you. And so it's so important when you're looking at your goals or talking about your goals is to act like those things are already achieved before they become in your view, we'll say, in this reality, because your subconscious is what is really helping you, getting you to these things. Your metabolism, your everything is controlled by your subconscious mind. So if you start living in the end, it's going to start making those changes without a effort as much from you. And so I think that's those two correlate to me on why she speaks about writing those things down. So I think that's great.
Yeah, and you talked about this already, and I wrote this down because it's a quote from her. Life is not about tomorrow; it's about right now. And so, if you can visualize, what you're going to feel like and look like a year from now, and you can hang on to that feeling right now, you're going to raise your vibration and you're going to attract things. They're going to help you get to your end result. You're going to get outside forces. You're going to get people asking you and talking to you about it. You're going to get tips from people you didn't even know worked out or went through the same thing. And it's going to be funny how easy the universe will make it for you to get where you want to go. And another exercise you can do too, and I haven't done this yet, I want to, when you talk about having a vision board, find someone that inspires you, that maybe looks the way you do, has the body type that you want, and cut out a picture of them, but just like cut off the head and put your head on top of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And give yourself a picture of what you will look like when you hit the goal that you have set for yourself, and put that somewhere where you're going to see it. And that is you. It's not what you're going to be. It's who you are right now, and help that picture pull you along in the direction that you want to go.
Yeah. And because, losing 10 pounds, losing 20 pounds, maybe what you're saying your New Year's resolution is, but in reality, you would be better off if you gained 20 pounds of muscle and went up 20 pounds, and it would just totally shift the way that you look. So you have to focus on what your real desire is, not just a number that we really don't even know. I mean, because you could get sick and lose 20 pounds and look like death, right? So that's not
right.
That's not necessarily
nobody's trying to attract that.
Yeah,
nobody's trying to attract that. And then the other thing I want to talk about is in a book that I read is about setting up implementation intentions. And essentially what these are is and you're going to hate this because you don't like visualizing failure, but this is setting up if-then statements for when something comes up that's going to cause you to maybe fall short of your goal, or, the F word, fail. Okay. And so it's like, if along the lines of the workout goal, part of that is going to be, diet. Part of that's going to be exercise. And so if, let's say, you go up to the pantry and you start reaching for a snack that is not going to help you reach your end goal, you need to have a plan for if and when that happens. Setting up an if-then statement is going to help distract you in that moment and keep you from, I guess, indulging that craving. A good implementation intention would be, if I start to feel like I'm going to reach for a snack, I'm going to go for a walk. Or if I start to feel like I'm going to have a drink of alcohol, I'm going to do 20 push-ups. Or if I feel like I'm going to, I guess, fall short or whatever, I'm going to call a friend or a buddy and tell them what I'm going through. And so if you distract yourself in that moment where you feel that weakness, then once that craving or that weakness passes, you can go back to doing what you were doing, and you haven't backslid, or you haven't given up, or you haven't failed, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that, doing anything towards your goals or resolution gives you a sense of accomplishment, and then you can choose to build off of that thought, and it will propel you further and further. So I don't know if I 100% agree with the negative thought, because the negative thoughts change just like positive thoughts. But I guess it's really about how far you can reprogram yourself, because technically speaking, we are programmed to think certain foods are good and bad, and it can be shown to you, through nutritional labels and all that kind of stuff. But I know so many people that eat anything and everything that they want, and they stay as thin as a rail. Doesn't matter what they change their diet to, they stay the exact same. So I really feel like,
and you would say that's because, and I agree, you would say that's because in their mind, I'm a thin person. Everything I eat, I burn up. And no matter what I do, I don't gain weight.
I mean,
and they're so confident
if you ask them,
that it doesn't matter.
if you ask them, they will say exactly what you just said.
I know. I get it 100%.
I mean, it is phenomenal that you can. I mean, one of my really good friends, Eric, is this way. I mean, the man eats the worst diet in the world, and then he goes to a great diet, he loses a weight, and he doesn't even need to lose weight if he shifts, because he just starts to think that is, you know what I'm saying? Like he's heard it so much, but I mean, literally, you can't even tell the difference. It makes no sense. I don't understand it. I mean, I do understand it, but it's very hard to reprogram something that you've heard the opposite of. And I know that me and Matt are both guilty of this because, we've read into and looked for the answer so far that we found it, unfortunately.
Yeah. For me, my paradigm, I can't find the answer unless I've had to work for it.
Yeah.
I have this limitation where I feel like knowledge can only be acquired through hard work and dedication and determination. And it bleeds over into every other part of my life. Maybe that's my resolution. I am going to reprogram my subconscious mind to believe that I can acquire anything I want without working towards it or for it at all. And at the end of 2021, we'll come back and we'll talk about all the things that happened great in my life that required absolutely no effort on my part at all.
So my new goals, I guess I will put them with the New Year's resolution group. My new goals are to achieve the feeling of my goals.
Okay.
And so that is, I think, something. I mean, nobody writes down their goal is to achieve this feeling. They write down the thing that they want because they're trying to get to that feeling. So you're putting it out there as something you don't have, and you won't have it until you get there. So that's kind of some changes that I'm going to make, and I'm going to see how that works, because I think that's what you're chasing. You're chasing the feeling of love of yourself. You're chasing the feeling of, being all that you can from your own perspective. And once you achieve that, everyone else starts treating you like you've achieved the goal. If you could just switch the feeling instantly, it would be the same reaction from others. But it's something that you've put the limitation on, and you've got to have X to get to Y, and that's the only way you know it. Anyway, it's wild. It's crazy to think about, and I feel like that we could talk about this forever and dissect it. And I mean, I start thinking about things that I say, and then I think, well, actually, you could do it this way. You know what I mean? I mean, it could go on forever, because there's just so many different ways to look at everything, and there's so many different answers, because whatever answer you come up with versus whatever answer I come up with, because we're giving those power and we're focused on those, they're going to be true.
Become a part of the Unscrewed Mind by following us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Unscrewed Mind. Also, feel free to email Rusty and I. Our address is unscrewedmind@gmail.com. Tell us what you thought of the show, pitch a subject for a future show, or just say hi. And until next time, stay grateful.